Our last topic of the night was probably the biggest story of the night in Black college sports overall. That superseded the Celebration Bowl. It is Michael Vick, former NFL player, being in talks, as is reported, with Norfolk State to possibly become their head football coach next season. Michael Vick is also being sought after by Sacramento State, one of the better teams in the FCS, reportedly. And so Chris Stevens wrote a story about it based on a report by the Virginian Pilots, who published their story today. Apparently, Michael Vick at some point spoke with both the president of Norfolk State and the athletic director about the job that came open after the school fired Dawson Odoms, who went 15-31 in 4 seasons at Norfolk State, who was let go last month. Vick told the Virginian Pilot that the university contacted him and he sees this as an opportunity to give back to the Hampton Roads area. He's from the 757 with the Virginia Tech. So he has a lot of ties there and is beloved out there. He said, in spite of having no previous coaching experience, that I know how to lead and I know what it takes. So fellas, what do we believe about this story, and what do we think about the prospect of Michael Vick possibly becoming a head coach at an HBCU, starting with Ken Rashad?
Okay, so I don't follow Michael Vick at all, but does he have any coaching experience that we're aware of? None? No. At any level? None?
No.
Wow. That's all I can say. Wow. Remember how surprised I was when someone, I think one of you brought up the possibility of Norfolk State considering Michael Vick, and I'm thinking, really? Because I saw that floating around on social media last week. I'm thinking, okay, y'all lost your mind now, Mike Vick, and now it's actually happened. And I guess, how did Sacramento State get in the mix? Sacramento State? Yes.
Oh, so apparently Sacramento State kind of denied that actually happened.
That's what I was about to say. The Sacramento Bee is reporting that the him being the next head coach, or him being in line to be the head coach, them being in talks, are premature.
Okay. Well,
yeah. So yeah, apparently those are premature reports.
Okay. So Norfolk State, clearly this is a, and I say this respectfully, okay, because I get this is a move of desperation. This is a move of desperation. Man, I am all for giving people an opportunity, but I guess, Michael Vick, if you were to say, he's going to come on as an assistant and eventually earns his wings to become a head coach, that's fine. But I just, why? I mean, it may work out for him, man, but just come on, man. I get it. You need a turnaround. Norfolk State hadn't been relevant since never when it comes to football.
That's a long time, never, Ken.
But I'm just saying, man. But just come on, man. Mike Vick, wow. All because he's got ties to the area. I have no words, because again, this time last week I didn't even believe it until the reports actually started coming out, and then here we are. So, hey, if it works for him, great. I'm not saying he can't coach, but I just think that you would think a little bit more of your program.
So what's Grambling?
I'm sorry.
He's talking about the comment that they should.
Yeah, somebody said Norfolk State is a basketball school. I said, so what's Grambling?
Oh, but no, I'm saying, man, I just say, look, I get why they're doing it. I just hope ultimately, man, things work out. I do.
Yeah, Chris Stevens, your thoughts on this about Michael Vick possibly coming to the MEAC?
I have always maintained that splash hires do little in the long run for HBCUs. And I'm not going to back off of that stance, but at the same time, I get why Norfolk State is doing this, at least trying to, because you need something. The last time they won a championship that counted was 1984 in the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association. That counts because they did win the MEAC in 2011, but they were found to be using ineligible players, so they had to take that banner down. So they have not officially won a conference championship in 40 years. So you gotta do something. I mean, you're already in competition with Hampton, of course, which is across the bridge. You got William and Mary and ODU in your backyard, and then you probably going to end up losing players to Richmond, Virginia State, Virginia Union. Hell, you might even lose kids to Elizabeth City State if you ain't careful. So you have to do something, and if that something means bringing in one Michael Dwayne Vick,
Gonna put the man whole government name out there.
Why not? I mean, it's something. I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. No WSSU Ram Nation. If they start losing players to that institution, then they have a problem.
No,
they have a serious problem.
That's
crazy.
That's
if they start losing to that, if they start losing players to that institution, then they need to start. Then they need to shut football down. But I don't think that's going to be a thing. But yes.
They would need to be investigated if they lose.
Yes. But what's going on over there? But I mean, I still think Dr. Alvin Parker is the best bet for Virginia State if they want to compete at a reasonable level. But if you're looking for a splash hire, if you're looking to get butts in the seats, to quote Tony Schiavone during the WWF WCW wars, then yes, you go with Mike Vick. But I mean, and Vick. This was the same. I mean, he did the girls flag football clinic at Norfolk State. So it feels like this is kind of sort of the wheels have been in motion in this for a little bit to kind of have him there, just to give him the lay of the land to see what it's like to be at an HBCU, see what Dick Price Stadium looks like. Dick Price Stadium is probably the best stadium in the MEAC, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, but I just feel like, the splash hire thing is just, hopefully it runs its course eventually, but people are so obsessed with celebrity that, it just wouldn't surprise me that it's not surprising that this is the route that Norfolk State is trying to take.
Someone in the comments says something. Look at the Lakers. The Lakers hired a coach that didn't have any experience.
Don't get Ken started.
You had a podcast here. Ken, you could be the coach.
Look at the damn Lakers now.
Ain't no better off than when they had
no wasted a draft pick on Bronny, who about to go to the G League. LeBron is just I got to take some time off for personal reasons. I mean, damn. Don't get me started on Lakers. But that argument proves my point. Experience has to count for something.
But Ken, Eddie George didn't have any experience when he was hired by Tennessee State. Look at them now.
Eddie George
took him some years though.
Took him some time though.
It normally takes schools some time to get right if they've been down for a while.
Okay, but look, I'm not saying that it can't happen. Okay, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm not saying it's impossible. But come on, and you know what? Okay, let me ask you this: was Eddie George really a splash hire?
It was
based on his resume, no. As a coach, no, because he wasn't a coach. Based on his name, I guess so.
Based on his personality, it definitely wasn't, because he didn't do many of the things that you compare Jackson State hiring Deion Sanders,
right?
Their personalities are two very different. So,
I get he's high profile. I get it. And everyone, but I don't know if Tennessee State hiring Eddie George. I mean, I guess there was some buzz, and I want to be fair to Eddie George and the Tennessee State, but all of that came in, when Deion was at Jackson State, and people were trying to make that same move. But look, it worked. So I guess what I'm saying is it worked out for Tennessee State, and clearly, what Norfolk State, if they're really considering bringing in Michael Vick, around Nashville, I get it. That's fine, but he's beloved in Nashville. He was already there. I get it, but I mean, he definitely did not increase it. Well, yeah. So, but what I'm saying, what I'm saying is, this Norfolk State getting Michael Vick would be considered a splash high profile hire. And I think the hire will probably get more buzz than Eddie George going to Tennessee State, even though that was kind of riding that wave of momentum after Jackson State had already brought in Deion Sanders. But this is Norfolk State we're talking about. You know, Norfolk State, Tennessee State, in terms of football program, historically speaking, Tennessee State's a little bit more prominent. But as WSSU Ram Nation, man, we ain't talked as much about Norfolk State in a long time, if at all, about football. Now, if we talk about Diamond Johnson and
Yeah, Joe Bryant.
If we're talking about
their basketball
we talk
team,
about basketball, that's a
Langston.
totally different situation.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's
Yeah,
did Doug Williams have experience? Yes. Doug Williams was the head coach at Morehouse prior to coming to Grambling, and he had been an assistant at, I believe, Navy. So yes, he had some coaching experience at the college level before he took on the head coaching duties at Grambling.
I think Morehouse was kind of decent when Doug was coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think it was only 1 year. It wasn't, but he did have and I think even high school he coached high school as well. So he did have some coaching experience, and he went from high school, I think, at Navy in a couple of roles, was head coach at Morehouse. Yeah. So
ironically enough, Morehouse now has Terrence Mathis, former NFL player, as their head coach now.
Mm-hmm. Just real quick, before I launch on this topic, I want to address somebody that said, what experience got Fred McNair? A SWAC Hall of Fame induction. Anyway, so my argument was never about, I don't think that Michael Vick would be good in the role. That's not my argument. My argument is him being in consideration is overlooking a bunch of head coaches or assistants that have worked to the bone at the HBCU level to warrant a shot, like a Antoine Sewell, like a Dr. Alvin Parker, like a Maurice Flowers, like a Ryan Lewis Sr., like so many assistants who have been at our institution or head coaches at the D2 level who have warranted shots at being a head coach at the Division I level. That's been my only argument. I have no doubt that if Michael Vick was patient, if Michael Vick worked as hard as he could and listened to people who have experience at coaching at any level at an HBCU or at any level period of college football, he could be successful. But my only argument is he should not be ahead of the line, ahead of people who have been at the HBCU level for years, working tirelessly to build up our programs. Also, Sam Shade and Teddy Keaton as well. Those are the guys that I feel like should get the attention, that should be warranting being in this role. It has nothing to do with Michael Vick. I have no doubt that if Michael Vick, like I said, if he worked hard and tried his best and listened to people with reason and made the necessary changes that needed to be made, that he could potentially see success. But I don't think he should skip the line and we got to stop with this just because somebody has a big name like a Ray Lewis, like a Ed Reed, like a Andre Johnson, all these guys that have been in line for head coaching positions at the HBCU level, just because they have names that they warrant being coaches of our HBCUs ahead of guys who have worked as coaches for years and have the resume to show that, while no, they're not going to be the guys that have the celebrities on the sideline. They're not going to be the guys that, have the stadium packed with a bunch of transplants that never even been to an HBCU campus. That they are going to be the guy that they're the guys that have proven success at this level. And those are the guys that we should go to, because remember what happened the last time we tried to get a celebrity hired and how he acted a fool when he wasn't even supposed to be on that campus? I will bring that up every single time. Not saying that Michael Vick would do that or that he doesn't have respect for HBCUs or Norfolk State, and he wouldn't have that respect for Norfolk State. That's not my point. My point is that focus on the guys that have the proven track record. Those are the guys that will help you uplift your program. Now, if you want the celebrities on the sideline, if you want the commercial deals and brand deals, because it is about money, money is very important, then sure, Michael Vick would be a great option, and I feel like that it could lean toward on the field success. But I'm saying right now that there are more deserving people.
So I guess the formula,
Kendrick.
formula has to be one in which the argument is, okay, we leverage Mike Vick to bring us the buzz, and maybe he can associate or surround himself with coaches who have experience, who can get the job done. You know, maybe he's going to take the CEO approach. But you know, just I don't know, man. It just kind of goes along everything. This is all unorthodox now, and you know, the HBCUs aren't the first to do it. You know, they're doing it. As a matter of fact, they're even doing it in the NFL. Who was the coach? The guy that came from Texas Tech when the Cardinals hired what's that quarterback?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. You saw how that turned out. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody was basically trying to find some young, hot gunslinger, you know, just, you know, and everybody kind of went on that path. It's feast or famine. It's either hit or miss. So if for whatever reason Norfolk State actually closes this deal and they get Vic, they'll get the buzz. The question is, long term, is will it result in wins?
Oh, Tiger Nation undefeated.
It'll probably bring in some money, but will it result in some wins?
Somebody brought up a good point that I think is very important. You also have to have coaches that know how to deal with today's generation of players. Now, granted, I can say this about Michael Vick. He has, you know, as Ken alluded to, he has been running football camps and flag football in the state of Virginia. So he has an idea of, you know, dealing with the kids in that community. But here's my thing about dealing with today's generation. You go through spring training, you go through practice, you go through film sessions, you go through walkthroughs, and you get in the game and they make the same mistakes that you worked on in all of those times. Are you going to be patient with them, or are you going to lash out? Because we've seen Shannon Sharp say he can't deal with this generation, because how do you go through all of that, working on all of that, and you still make those same mistakes in the game? You have to have that patience. And it's a difference between running football camps and being the head coach of a football team, a collegiate football team. So I'm not trying to say that Michael Vick couldn't do it, but I'm just saying there are more deserving people. And who knows what his level of patience is like when he's actually in that seat compared to him at a lower level where he's coaching younger kids, or, you know, running football camps with younger kids.
So yeah, like I agree with you, Jared, about the whole thing about, well, you know, it's different running a football camp as opposed to coaching a team. But generally, there is no meritocracy in college sports or sports in general. Like, schools are going to hire who they're going to hire. People mentioned that Bill Belichick was hired by North Carolina. Who did North Carolina? I know Bill Belichick's resume. I know he's Super Bowl champion, but he's never been a college coach before. But like, who did Bill Belichick prevent from being the coach of North Carolina? North Carolina didn't care about, well, we should hire the most deserving person for the job. You know, they going after the name and the resume of Bill Belichick, and that's what a lot of these schools are going to do. They're going to make the hire that puts them in the best position in football and financially and everything else. If that's Michael Vick, it's going to be Michael Vick. If it's Ed Reed, it's going to be Ed Reed. If it's Ray Lewis, it's going to be Ray Lewis. But schools are trying to...
but Kendrick, is Bill, but can you really make that argument with Bill Belichick? Because it's not uncommon for a coach to lead the NFL to go to a Power 4, Power 5 college as a head coach. That's not uncommon. We've seen that before.
It's not uncommon, but it is uncommon for someone of his age to go to the college ranks, especially during this time where the college landscape in terms of recruiting and NIL and all that stuff changing by the minute. And he doesn't have any experience in that. It's not like a lot of NFL guys who went back to college, they first started out as college coaches to some degree. Then they went to the NFL. For example, like your boy Hugh Jackson, he was a college coach first, then went to the NFL, then went back to college. But Bill Belichick, not that type of experience. He's been basically NFL his entire life, and so that's gonna be a different experience for him. But yeah, like you can't expect schools to say, "Well, we want the best coach possible based on these criteria that we set out who's going to be the most deserving." No, it's going to be who they feel can win, number one, and number two, can like put butts in the seats and bring in some money to boosters and all sorts of important people. So that's how it's going to be judged. I mean, like, you're right, more deserving coaches should get a shot, but it don't work that way when all $1 million involved.
Yeah, but real quick, and I want to get Chris in because I know he said that he wanted to address something, but just because Bill Belichick won at the NFL level don't mean that that's just going to translate to the college level. Because going back to the point about having to deal with today's generation of players, Bill Belichick in his last few years without Tom Brady, he showed that it was a different level.
Right.
It was a different level having to build with the team of guys who were unproven at the NFL level, who were trying to make a name for themselves, as opposed to a guy who was Teflon like Tom Brady, and also had a defense to go along with it that could aid the process. So there's no guarantee that they're still taking a risk when you're going with a guy that has either no coaching experience or no college coaching experience. You're just going for the guy that has the big name that's going to be in the headlines, and obviously there's going to be boosters that are going to give you money to see the product on the field and aid in making the team as good as possible. But at the end of the day, you still got to go out and play. The coach still has to go out and give the team direction, and we'll see how it works out for Bill Belichick. But this, just because he's had success at the NFL level doesn't mean it's a guarantee.
Tiger Nation undefeated. You cold-blooded for that, man. But he's right. Here's my this was going to be my point about Belichick. This is a dude who, I mean, I would put more trust, honestly, in Michael Vick, being able to relate to donors and, administrators more than Bill Belichick. Because when has Bill Belichick not been anything but a curmudgeon?
Oh yeah, he ain't doing all of them.
Right.
Bill Belichick
To the players, not so much.
He ain't shaking no hands and kissing no babies. Make no mistake about it. Bill, I mean,
well, okay, but he might make an exception for North Carolina to a certain degree, because was it his dad that used to coach there?
Yeah, but
his dad was a coach there.
Yeah, but his dad is in the dirt. What that got to do with 2024?
But I'm just saying, he may feel a certain affinity for North Carolina to where he'll probably do some things, knowing that there probably are some things that he's going to have to do as head coach at UNC that he wouldn't otherwise have to do it at NFL. I mean, let's keep it real, because many people already viewed him as an a-hole, especially when it came to doing media interviews and so forth. I don't know if he can necessarily keep that same facade or that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Somebody they say the older a man, the older a person gets, the more F's he runs out of. So,
oh man, somebody on Blue Sky said that, imagine him doing the interviews where they say talk about this, and one person in these MEAC and SWAC coaches conferences came to mind. Imagine Bill Belichick having to deal with that. I hope everyone on the Hill and Chapel Hill is well. Okay, so
somebody said something on Twitter that I had to laugh at. Somebody said, imagine after their first win and he goes in the locker room and everybody's on live. That's funny.
Yo. Yeah, imagine Bill Belichick doing a TikTok.
Oh man, I can't imagine that. That would be so awkward.
I'll say this. Like, Bill Belichick was able to relate to not Michael Vick, Randy Moss for a minute until we didn't like him anymore.
I'm still trying to get over. I hope everyone in Chapel Hill is doing well.
Bill Belichick will roll his eyes so hard if he heard that. It would be ridiculous.
I did, Ken, and if I have to hear it anytime before August 30th, it'll be too doggone soon. And that's all I got.
Oh.